And it's just one more tool to add, so you can use a toy, you can use a manners minor, you can use, all these things, but what I talked about in the Mark Training Essentials course, and I'm going to point out again today, are the reasons you might want to use a Mark bucket in certain situations and the benefits of using it over, an external reward I'll get into that soon enough, so, yeah.
So I'm Sally Connell, and I'm an agility instructor kit, and I've used perch, I've done perch work, but I haven't used it really in this context, but I'm seeing a lot of people talking about it, and my friend Annette really loves it for her very driving dog, and I'm sure it's going to be a useful tool, so I'd like to learn more about it.
Yeah, cool.
And Sally is a world-class agility competitor. Where did you go most recently? You were in...
I was in the Netherlands, Vienna in the Netherlands, and then I was qualified for the 2020 WAO, but canceled, or it was postponed until this October, and then in the meantime my dog wrecked his knee and had PCL surgery, so
it goes.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool. So, real quickly, if there's anything that stood out to you as the most beneficial reason of using a Mark bucket in the videos you watch, if anything just comes to mind, just rattle one off. I'm just curious as to what struck you as relevant to you in terms of the Mark training. Was it the ability to work at a distance? Was it that, I see that it regulates my dog's emotional state? Yeah.
Well, from what I can see, I think it will help me help newer people with reward, because the reward placement, reward timing, toy, maybe dogs don't have toy skills or toy drive.
Yeah.
So it's definitely probably a very useful tool that can replace things that I traditionally use.
Yeah, the second time we meet will be on how you teach somebody else the training, and it's phenomenal for helping people, slowing things down so that people can understand why you want to insert some, praise, you want to mark a behavior verbally, which is perceived by the dog as positive, right? Because it's coming right before the food, so now this thing is value, so it's getting students in the habit of saying something before they give the toy or the food, which is building value for their communication. Then you throw the Mark bucket before that. Now you've got the dog running to the Mark bucket, anticipating the word that's going to come out of your mouth, which means the food is coming. So at the end of anything you're training, you've got this reliable behavior chain that creates more and more anticipation for what's coming, so that now you have a dog that's standing on the mark, and a dog that's too low is going to start eagerly anticipating that here comes the voice and there comes the food, and the dog that's too high is going to go, I gotta wait, it's coming. So the anticipation is gonna bring those kind of dogs down. So it works in both directions. And there was a study about people in restaurants, and they said that as soon as the waiter comes and takes their drink order, everybody starts getting jovial, the anticipation of the alcohol coming. And I believe it's the same with the Mark bucket. So the Mark bucket is the table, and you are the waiter. And so you see the person coming finally to take your order, and you're going to get a glass of red wine, and you're like, yeah, here he comes. That's the way the dogs start feeling about the handler's involvement. So while you're rewarding your dog remotely, you're also rewarding your dog from you. So it's you get the best of both worlds. And the biggest advantage to that over the thrown toy is the dog is doing a behavior, and then they're going, are you coming with the reward? So you've got that connection to the handler versus this being an external reward, that the dog in the wrong hands can become focused solely on the external reward. If the handler is not a good trainer enough to understand they need to insert themselves in some way, now you have a dog that is going to run faster when there's a toy and not run fast when there isn't a toy. So again, for new trainers, it really helps them develop the habits of inserting themselves into this whole behavioral chain, so their dogs get value from hearing the handler go, yeah, that's it. It is valuable to the dog because of the repetitiveness of it, and the fact that the Mark bucket creates a pause for which that can happen, and the instructor can then remind the dog as they're about to feed them, you say the word, yeah, that's it, which is perceived as praise and positive reinforcement. So that is probably the biggest advantage to mark training is in terms of how it trains people to be better dog trainers. But the advantage to the dogs, and this took me, I've been doing mark training for 6 years, and I thought there was something about the position of a dog on the mark that changed their mental state, because I noticed it when I was exposed to this 6 years ago, and my crazy wackadoodle dog, who has since passed away, I'm like, oh my God, he's different. And he's just standing on the mark, and I'm like, well, what could it be? And I thought, it's Rin Tin Tin pose. He feels grounded and empowered. And now here I am 6 years later going, yeah, that does feel good. It's a natural power position, but it is the pause. That you're creating these pauses in training, just like two dogs at wildly playing, brief pauses throughout. And I think for dogs, I think they're perceiving it as finally we are playing politely. They're perceiving it as we're all moving, then whoop, quick pause, we're all moving. So I think it creates this natural undulation or modulation of a dog's arousal level that they've been waiting for us to do, their whole life. So I think that's probably the biggest benefit to it. And it's also going to teach people how to build value from the ground up versus a dog running through a tunnel. People go, my dog loves tunnels. Well, probably it's becoming aroused by brushing against the tunnel and add a little static charge. Now your dog is really going to come out aroused. So have you really built value, or has the experience the dog had built value? So it really helps people understand how you build value for stuff so that you're learning dog training skills instead of just saying, oh, my dog's chasing the ball, he runs fast, my dog goes through tunnels fast. And it will help, I think it just helps people understand how you train dogs effectively. And it's simple. There's no behavior associated with other than standing on a mark, and I call it standing on or above a mark. My dogs are welcome to bounce around if they want to. Some dogs like to do that, other dogs are very still. And then the one other thing that really stands out to me is in the moments that are created by the dog standing on the mark and the person about to feed the dog, is this connection happens where the dog is being seen by the person and the dog recognizes that. So if we are really busy, like the instructor's saying, throw the toy, or give him the food, you're all busy doing this, you're not paying attention to the dog recognizes that. And so it gives this dog the opportunity to see, oh, my person is connected to me, and it becomes part of your training environment that there is a connection that happens before every reward. So the dog is now wanting connection versus seeing their person as disconnected, always trying to do all this stuff. And that's what precedes the reward. So, and again, these are just things I've figured out by working with so many different people with mark training, is that what's creating these transformational effects that are well beyond what should be happening with the simple thing is the fact that there's the communication is improving, and the dogs, once they know we're listening, their communication increases because they know that's being perceived. So a dog that might have before been still and kind of suppressed is going to now loosen up and start expressing happiness. And now you go, oh, my dog's happy, and oh, my dog's not quite as happy, versus before you got nothing because the dog wasn't communicating it.